Welcome back to Bit About Crypto. I'm David James, the Job Whisperer. And also on Twitter, you can find me. I'm at the BTC Recruiter. And I want to say thank you to everybody who supports the channel. And on Spotify and Apple and YouTube. And thank you for subscribing and leaving comments. You guys have been very kind, most of you, except for you scammers out there. And those scammers are the ones who are leaving a Telegram channel asking you, saying it's from me or it's from my co-host Dave Hampton to, hey, send me some money and I'll tell you which coins to buy. That's not us. We'll never do that. Okay?
Is that really occurring?
That's occurring, man.
It's occurring on our stuff?
Yeah, man.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, because you don't do the YouTube, you do the Spotify, I think, or the Apple, right? You listen, you don't watch?
Correct.
Yeah, that's right. So, anyhow, thank God for me to protect us from like all the evil out there.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd do without you, David.
I don't know what I'd do without me either. That's two of us.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I love me some me.
Yeah, I know you do.
Anyhow, well, I guess no introductions needed. There's David Hampton, the Robo Recruiter.
How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. And so we're here back in Las Vegas. And hey, Las Vegas is back open and everything is good. However, I am going to say that some of the service isn't as good and some of the food isn't as good, right?
Kind of depends on where you go. But I think that's pretty much anywhere you go.
Yeah. So, we went to a kind of nice restaurant last night. And
reputation precedes itself.
Yeah, the reputation was good, but
I'm not sure it lived up to the expectations given the price point.
We paid 60% too much, right? It's gotten to the point where like sides, right? Sides used to be like $8, $9. Now sides at this place were like $17 each, and when you got there, they were small. And literally, when I got a dessert to go, key lime pie, and I looked in the box, and I wanted to say to the guy, "Where's the rest of it?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you probably would have said it's underneath.
He might have. But yeah, so we're back in Las Vegas, and we enjoy coming here. Everybody's very nice. I want to give a big shout out to Travis, our engineer. Thank you, Travis, for all you do.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Love you.
Love you back. And
hey, what about me?
No.
I love you.
No.
Yeah,
I love him too.
You got to pick.
See, zip it. You got to zip it.
You got to pick. All right. Remember, you're the co-host.
Well, I'm younger, better looking,
Yep.
more virile.
Yeah, you can push me off a cliff, and you can have the show. Anyhow, so welcome to Bit About Crypto, where we talk all things crypto. And the purpose of this show is for our listeners to learn what's going on in cryptocurrency. And that's the funny thing. What motivated me to start this podcast is it dawned on me that there are a lot of people who don't understand cryptocurrency or blockchain. And when it finally, like the aha for me on that, David, was I was golfing with my buddy Tim Thurman, Flash, Gordon. His first name is Gordon, but we call him Flash. And we were on the golf course, and he was lining up a putt. He was about to putt. And then my buddy Terry Lawler says, "Hey, you could always pay off your gambling debts in Bitcoin, right?" And
Why would you do that?
No, but they don't know any better. They don't understand. So you're learned, you're not logical, which brings us back to where I'm talking. And he's just about to take the putter back, and he stops. He puts the putter down, and he looks up at me. He goes, "What is a Bitcoin actually?" Right? and it's so difficult for people to actually understand crypto. Nobody wants to look stupid, right? And it's one thing to go, "Hey, I'll just Google, what is decentralized." You can Google these things. But when it comes to cryptocurrency, there's so much happening so quick, and there's a lot of disinformation, a lot of inaccurate information. So I decided, hey, I'm going to bring in all these different guests. And fortunately, today's guest is somebody I actually met. So I went to, I met, even though I talk about a lot of cryptocurrencies and I let anybody come on this show and have a voice, right, about what they think. I'm literally looking based on your experience.
That's what America's about.
I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, meaning I actually think that Bitcoin is going to win out. But that doesn't. I reserve the right to be wrong about that, and I reserve the right to say to you, "Hey, you're welcome to actually buy whatever coin you want." All right, but most Bitcoin maximalists, they want to actually talk to anybody who's involved in any other type of currency, so they can actually, as we say, orange pill them. And I went to BitBlock Boom, and my knowledge base exponentiated. What happened to me when I went to BitBlock Boom, and it's an event that's a Bitcoin only conference in Dallas, Texas every August. What happened there, I came to Bitcoin for the greed, but then I stayed for the ideology. I was like literally changed on the way I saw the world, which, got me to the podcast. And of course, what got me started in blockchain recruiters. And of course, you're going to actually have your inaugural visit to BitBlock Boom. And I said to you yesterday, as we were driving in the hotel, I said, BitBlock Boom is going to change your life. And you, being very stoic, said, okay, right? But you'll see.
Time will tell.
Yeah, it's like your first trip to Disneyland. I'm living here forever. But in a lot of ways, that is true. So, so when I went to BitBlock Boom, I think it was last year, right? One of my friends, the friend, Uncle Jim, as we refer to him, he actually he indoctrinated me. He said, hey, there's this guy you need to meet, Mike Smith. And we hung out with him at the conference. We listened to speakers, and we went to dinner a couple of times. And I'm privileged to actually have him on the show, because he's really one of my mentors. He's said some things to me conceptually that I had never thought of and no one else has brought up to me. So he's going to talk about a story. He's actually in the construction trade, but he actually started a bank. And I don't know if bank is what we're going to call it, but it's a place where you can store things related to your cryptocurrency wallets or codes, or I'm going to let him get into that. And when he told me he was doing it, and he said, I think he was either building it himself or demoing it and doing the tenant improvements, because you and I come from construction.
That's right.
And I said to myself, of course you are. But that's the thing about people. When you get orange pilled, like Mike and I have, and now you, David, your life has to be something as it involves crypto. And for us, we get people jobs in the cryptocurrency space. And so, like... Have I already plugged all my social? Have I done that already, Travis?
Yeah, you've done all that.
Somebody needs a nap. Anyhow, so with no further ado, let's stop me from talking. Let's get Mike talking. Mike Smith, welcome to the show.
David.
Yeah, Bitcoin101.io.
Great to be here.
Yeah.
Glad you got the show going.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
How accurate is, remember us meeting at BitBlock Boom?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you throwing out some comments to the speakers up there when it was appropriate, like F Coinbase.
I don't think that's something I would ever
think
do.
You got him mistaken with another heckler.
Yeah.
David never ever heckles.
Thank you, Dave.
Ever.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very unbecoming. Little
Maybe
insulted. Yeah. No, yeah, you got the right guy. Okay, I confess. I throw myself at the mercy of the court. Anyhow, yeah, it was a good time, and I got to meet you there. So, Mike Smith, let's see your shirt. Let's see your shirt for the audience a little bit, right? So, right, it says Bitcoin 101. Live it, love it, learn it. Yeah. So, Mike's clearly been orange pilled. So, Mike, you live in Michigan?
Yeah, Middle Michigan, right by Lansing.
The capital.
Capital, Michigan State University in East Lansing.
Is that your alma mater?
No, I actually went to Central Michigan University, which is about an hour north.
Okay, so So talk about. Let's just hear about you growing up. Are you Michigan your whole life?
Oh yeah, Michigan my whole life. Come from pretty small, humble family, and
talk about it. Talk about like K through 12 for you. What was your family like? What did you do?
Went to a small Class C school out in the country, basically farm community. Spent the summers mowing yards and baling hay.
Were your parents farmers? Did you live on a farm?
I actually was right next to a family farm. We just had a acre. Our house was on 1 acre, and but my uncle had a big farm next to me, and he was more of a hobby farmer, but I helped him every summer while I was growing up.
So
it was good.
So when you were K through 12, right? Junior high. What kind of things were you into? Were you into sports? Were you into what did you do?
I played sports. I was your average athlete. good enough to make the team, not good enough to be a star, right?
Yeah. So what is not good enough to be a star and not good enough to make the team? That's what I was. So I just don't know, how do we classify that?
Well, like, for basketball, I would start sometimes, or I'd be the sixth man, right in there.
David, you can speak to that.
Well, that's called being cut. So, I mean, just candidly speaking. So,
yeah. Are you talking about me, or are you talking about him, the sixth man?
No, I'm talking about you.
Oh, yeah, I know about being cut.
Okay.
I actually have a degree in being cut. Anyhow, no, but he said he was the sixth man. David was a basketball coach.
I was a basketball coach. I played basketball, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And so when you got out of high school, what types of things were you thinking? I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
Well, I thought I was going to be an attorney. That was kind of my first plan when I went off to college. After my freshman year, I got a job laboring for excavating contractor.
Okay.
For the summer. And that was my first exposure to working around big equipment, working outside, working on big jobs, building things, actually doing things, that at the end of the day, you could see what you had done. And I liked working outside. It was pretty rewarding. And by the end of that summer, I kind of had in my mind that maybe I'd like to be involved in that business or that industry somehow.
So I think I know this. I think your at least your most recent vocation until you got to your new venture was construction, and specifically excavating, correct?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, and that's what I do now. I have an excavating company that I've had since 1987 that I run every day. So it takes a lot of my time away from being able to be on Bitcoin 100% of the time. So this is kind of a sideline for me. I'd like to move into being my main line.
Well, okay, we're going to talk about that. So you brought up the B word, right? I mean, how apropos the day after the B word conversation came up.
Right.
Are you familiar with Elon and Jack and Kathy talk? Did you hear any of that?
I saw some of the highlights from it. I did not see it. I knew it was coming. I knew, and there was Nick Carter and Lynn Alden were in there too.
Yeah.
I did not. I just saw. I saw what Elon says. Right, they report everything that Elon says.
It does, but for guys like us, it really doesn't matter because it's not going to. Nothing's going to change our opinion about Bitcoin, right? Because we've orange pilled.
Absolutely not.
Right. So I find. I got better fantasies than that. I don't. It's kind of like I spent all that time watching the Michael Saylor debate where he debated the gold guy from Canada. And I was
Frank Justra.
Yeah, that's correct. The Viacom guy. And I was really mad that I'd spent the time because when I heard the paraphrases of it, and you knew how it was going to be. You knew what Michael was going to say, and you knew what Frank was going to say. And not one person changed their mind, right? Peter Schiff still agrees with Frank, right?
Yeah, that's probably true. But one thing I took out of that debate is that, and I was a gold silver guy, okay, for a long time. And I've owned the miners for leverage. And Frank Justra is an elite money manager in that space in the mining industry. And he struck me as being somewhat on the defensive. And Michael Saylor makes point that you should get some exposure to Bitcoin as insurance, with 25 to 100 basis points, right? If it doesn't go anywhere, it's not going to hurt you. And he, could not even acknowledge
that's right.
that maybe that would be a good idea. He was just, he was so defensive. He almost reminds you of and I actually don't want to say it about Frank Justra, like a Peter Schiff being just brain dead about it. But he did not want to acknowledge that it may be a good idea to get some exposure. And I'm not risking the farm here. I'm not risking anything. I'm buying insurance. The same way you buy insurance, on your house fire insurance. Nobody wants it to burn down, but they don't get that money back, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And rarely do you get all the money back. Rarely do you get the same house. As a matter of fact, I could digress here. My entire neighborhood in Santa Barbara burnt to the ground in 1991 in the Painted Cave fire, right? And a lot of people got a lot of money, and less than 90% of those people rebuilt because it just wasn't worth doing it. I'm actually trying to look at something here, because yes. So basically, I'm going to say it right here, because what we're talking about, Frank, and what we're talking about as far as Peter Schiff is concerned, they have not yet capitulated, right? Bitcoin bad, gold good, right? Yep. And it's funny because Jamie Dimon, so my son used to work, shout out to Daniel, I love you, son. He's orange pill too. He used to work at Bank of America. And he told me that he'd open accounts. And he told me that if somebody was coming in to say, hey, I want to open an account, and it's used the word crypto or used the word blockchain or used the word Bitcoin, you were refused. You can. It's like saying I got a bomb in my suitcase as a joke at the airport. It's like there's no coming back from that. You can't. Right. It's like you're not flying today or any other day. And so I remember Jamie Dimon, right, the CEO of JP Morgan, saying that if anybody at my firm is buying Bitcoin, they're fired, right? Yep. And so the article today says JP Morgan becomes first big bank to give retail wealth clients access to crypto funds. I'm just gonna read the first line here out of Zero Hedge. We sure have come a long way in the past 4 years. Back in September 2017, billionaire JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon lashed out at a relatively new, for boomer institutional investors, asset class, Bitcoin, which Dimon said, quote, won't end well, predicting it will eventually blow up as, quote, it's a fraud, unquote, and, quote, worse than tulip bulbs, unquote. And the kicker, the CEO of the largest bank said he would fire employees trading Bitcoin for being stupid, right? Fast forward to today, when everything has changed. Not only has JPM launched a Bitcoin fund, which for rich clients, after years of bashing crypto, its market quants publish a weekly hit piece bashing Bitcoin and its crypto peers. But it now publishes a weekly report looking at all the latest news and trends in the crypto realm. Right? And it's just like, it's one of these things. You just can't listen to what anyone's saying. You just got to watch what everyone's doing. And they've been buying it for years. Comment?
Yeah, I don't know if they've been buying it for years. I think they're just, you're going through the legacy financial systems version of FOMO. And
fear of missing out.
Just trying to not be left behind. I mean, but they're so far behind, there's not many people out there with the technical skills to manage the back end on cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin. And Jamie, nobody wants to go to work for him in this space. I have some friends who are Bitcoin core developers, and there's not many of these people, and they really want nothing to do with the legacy financial system. Mm-hmm. I think these guys are just gonna slowly die on the vine. And you got people like Jack Mallers. I mean, holy cow. Oh, wow. They should be shitting their pants looking at what Jack Mallers is doing.
Yeah. I mean, 27-year-old kid. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, and he's worth talking about right now. Talk about Jack Mallers and how profound he is to our movement.
Well, he's huge. I was sitting in the audience in Miami when he made the announcement about El Salvador. And, that was powerful. That was a powerful speech. And I would recommend anybody that watching this should go watch Jack Mallers' speech at Bitcoin 2021, because, it was awesome.
Yeah. So just a little backstory for our audience, just so you know. At Bitcoin 101, the final segment at the closing, Jack Mallers was on stage for 10 minutes, and he was announcing. He had a big announcement to make, right? And he was talking about his experience as a kid and what he did, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll let Mike you tell it.
Yeah. So he he had went to El Salvador with Strike, which is a great app, and allowing people to use Lightning Network, transact, send remittances tied to the legacy banking system. You can take your dollars in your Chase account, as he says, convert it, converts to Bitcoin, goes and lands in another country, will convert to their local currency, and you have just sent money from point A to point B in real time for nothing. So he's got this thing ready to go. He goes down to Bitcoin Beach, where Mike Peterson had really done a lot of groundwork down there to set the stage for Jack to go down there and really take advantage of this Strike app. So he went down there and he made such an impact. He got on the radar screen of the El Salvadoran government because they were downloading this app, like is exploding exponentially, and he's starting to have an impact down there on this little local economy. So the president, I think, has his brother, his chief of staff, get a hold of Jack and say, hey, we want to talk to you about this. And of course, Jack's like, holy shit, they're going to throw me in jail? Or are they going to, what do they want to talk to me about?
Wait. Don't leave out the part about how Jack didn't bring a suit. And what Jack, what Jack wore to meet the president.
Hoodie,
yeah.
I don't know if Jack has a suit.
Right? Yeah, right.
But right. So he wanted to go home, right?
Yeah, he was afraid. He was afraid.
And they're like, no, we're doing this like tomorrow. Well, I don't have a suit. This is what I'm wearing, whatever. And I think the brother came out and had a hoodie on too or something.
Yeah.
I think when Jack got there, he knew pretty quickly he was not going to be thrown in jail. But, the president started talking to him about the impact he was having, and that started the conversation. I'm sure Jack was driving that, this needs to be legal tender currency in your country. And that would be the first country to ever do that. Yeah. And that is the first country. So he did become the first country. And that's just huge. The implications are pretty big because, as far as I know, any recognized national currency is to be recognized anywhere else as currency, which means there's all of a sudden no capital gains for Bitcoin. Now, I don't care what the laws say, our government's never going to let that happen.
No.
They care less about El Salvador.
And the thing that made it so great was while Jack Ballers is on stage and he's just talking, and he was so heartfelt and so profound, he actually started crying. And as I was watching him, I started crying. I mean, it's because it reinforced the thing about Bitcoin for me, that it's sound money and it's fairness and it's hope for the marginalized or the disenfranchised people. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the screen drops, and then there's the president of El Salvador, all of 38, 39 years old, right? Yep. Clean cut, good looking guy who says in really good English. Yep. He says, we're passing a law next week that's going to make Bitcoin legal tender here in the country of El Salvador. And I want to talk about this for a second. 22% of the gross domestic product of El Salvador is remittances, right? People migrate out of the country and they work in America or some Western usually, and they send that money back. And of course, Western Union or some other, bankster takes between 8 and 50%. Yes, and now what they can do is they can send it back, and Bitcoin's totally disruptive to money senders, right? Third counterparty agents, and what is everybody has been saying is that Bitcoin won't rise in price until it gets mass institutional adoption, and I've always disagreed with that. I personally think, and I keep saying this, I think poverty is the thing that's going to push Bitcoin, right? Because you've got a population of 6.5 million new Bitcoin users, right? In a Spanish speaking, right? It's a centralized country, and there's not a lot of going from Tokyo to Rome kind of back to New York City, to Milan. Everybody in El Salvador is staying in El Salvador, specifically in their village, right? Yeah. But now what they're doing is they're actually accepting Bitcoin. So that means everybody in the United States that's El Salvadorian is getting Bitcoin. And now they're going to their bosses, right? One boss could be worth $100 million and hire 1,000 people, talking to the domestic help, saying, hey, can you pay me in Bitcoin? Going, wait, what is this Bitcoin? This is that electronic network effect thing that I'm talking about. And it's not making the media, like the way that Iran is mining Bitcoin, right? Or all these third world countries. I use this example. I use this analogy, and the analogy is as follows. There was a guy in, where was it? Was it Paraguay or Lebanon or Syria or one of those companies? Venezuela. Sorry, it was Venezuela. He paid his website bill 50 years in advance, right? 50 years in advance, he paid $19 times 50 or whatever it is. And the website company called him and says, what are you doing? He says, I'm trying to protect my currency, because when I actually get the refund from you, it's going to be in whatever the amount of dollars that the American, now I'm totally digressing. So anyhow, it's wonderful. I think it's really, really wonderful. And I've totally stepped on your thunder there. I'm sorry.
Well, it's just part of the network effects that Bitcoin's going through. And that was a big deal for Jack to go down there. He could have went to, I think his COO or his main guy there wanted to go to Europe, and it's a bigger market. It's a more lucrative market. And he said, no, we're going to El Salvador because they need us down there. This is going to do well down there. And yeah. I think it was a brilliant move. It was a brilliant move because the frickin' president made it the national currency, right? And
he didn't make it the national currency. He made it legal tender. So you could take
right along with the dollar.
Yeah, that's right.
Same status as the dollar.
Right. So I want to ask you this. So you're a construction guy, right? You get out of college, excavating. You've been doing this since '87. Boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
How did Bitcoin find you, Mike?
It was the 08, 09 meltdown that changed everything for me. Really, I had used my 05, 06. I'm rolling. Things are good. Life is good. I got my excavating company that's doing good. I leveraged my ability to build out some projects for equity and some development deals with some partners. And 08, 09 hit, and everything changed, right? The market, the real estate market just collapsed, especially commercial real estate. And I was developing a lot of subdivisions. Well, I was involved in like 3 of them, and there had been so many lots brought on because the market was so hot that when everything collapsed, these things they weren't worth hardly anything. I mean, I was involved in the biggest deal I was involved in. We were selling lots at 40 grand a piece. That's what the bank had them worth as collateral. And by 2009, they were really worth nothing. My banker told me, we don't even want to hold these on our balance sheet. So I'm like, are you telling me they're worth nothing? Yeah, basically they're worth nothing. Well, that got me really thinking, when I'm trying to backtrack and figure out, how I could have avoided all this and what decisions I made that I could not make in the future. I came to the conclusion that if you're going to do a deal and your collateral can go to zero within a couple of years, you're never going to do a deal, and you sure as hell aren't going to need or use a bank if it's going to go to zero.
Yeah, that's right.
So that made me, at that point, I was like, I really need to drill down on just how the legacy financial system worked. And that took me to fractional reserve banking system, right? And how corrupt that really was. And I just didn't buy the standard line, which was, they loaned a lot of money and people couldn't pay it back. And I remember George W. Bush saying, well, Wall Street just got drunk, Well, okay, George, that's great. But you know what? So he didn't understand what happened. He probably still doesn't understand what happened. But that took me to Austrian economics. It took me to hard sound money. And, ironically, one of the people that I followed that had so much good information was Peter Schiff at that time. And that's what took me to gold and silver, which I was all over for about 5 years. And it was the world of sound money that I was living in that Bitcoin came across my radar screen in the fall of 2011. And I actually, at that time, I was just getting ready to start buying gold and silver. So I saw that it was at like $3, and it had been as high as 30 just a few months before that. But I remember him saying, there can only be 21 million. This is digital gold. And I was like, yeah. I thought it was interesting, but I didn't think much of it, right? So I'm buying gold and silver, and Bitcoin pops up again here and there, not a lot. But by like 2013, when I was really starting to buy, and gold and silver, I think it was in about April 2013, had a big correction, and basically the 11, 12-year bull run for precious metals was really over. And Bitcoin had hit $100, and I was like,
I was just going to say $100. I knew it was $100 because I know that in May it was 200 of 2013.
Right, right, and I'm following it on Mt. Gox and Bitstamp. It's like the only two places that were trading Bitcoin. I'm following the price, and I see it at $100, and then like a few weeks later, it's $200. And I'm like, this. It's just, getting my interest more, but I have no idea how I'm going to buy this. No, I know nothing about it other than it's interesting. The price action is interesting. That's what's interesting to me, and I think it was a couple of years later, Bitcoin, and then it hit over $1,000.
That was December of 2013.
Yeah. And it's like getting close to the price of an ounce of gold. And I'm like, well, this is bullshit. How can this, you got to mine gold. You got to get it. It's rare. It's like 4 parts per billion in the Earth's crust. I mean, you can't bring more of it on like on a stock to flow basis. You can't, the higher price isn't going to bring on that much more gold. And I mean, that's why it's been sound money for thousands of years. And then Mt. Gox gets hacked. And I'm like, there you go. Bitcoin gets hacked.
Hold on, stop.
I didn't buy any.
Oh, you had not bought any, so you didn't get hacked on Mt. Gox.
I had not bought any. Nope. I watched it go to like $1,100, and then Mt. Gox happened, and it went down. I think it went below 200, and I was like, well, there you go. That's why I have gold and I don't have Bitcoin, because my gold ain't doing very well, but it ain't collapsed to $200. So that, but I'm getting more interested, right, as this goes along. And by 2016, some of the people I'm following in the precious metals community start talking about Bitcoin, and they start talking about how they dismissed it, but they're on it. They were talking about how, the most asymmetric trade that the world's ever seen. And, we are going to allocate 1% because that could be huge. If it goes to zero, it doesn't matter. And that's a great way to look at it. It's a great way to look at it right now. So by 2017, I'm like getting ready to buy, but I have no idea how. So I start drilling down on that. I get an account set up at Coinbase because I don't know any better, right? Mm-hmm. And I buy my first Bitcoin at like $1,800, and I'm thinking, I felt like a schmuck because I could have bought it at $3, and I am buying at 1,800.
So this was April of 2017.
No, this was in the summer of 2017.
Okay.
This is the summer of 2017.
Because I remember in August 2017, it went to 4,000, right?
Yep.
So
it went to it went. So I buy it at 1,800, and then I have no idea what a halvening cycle is. I know none of this shit. I'm just lucky to buy it at 1,800, and it's about to go for a ride, and I got no idea other than it's going to be fun, right? So I get into watching the podcast. I'm starting to figure out who's who in the community. I start following the SegWit, the SegWit debate, the scaling debate, which was was maybe it could have been the biggest actual threat to Bitcoin at that time when Roger
our civil war. Right.
It was a major civil war.
Right. And for those of you who are
the very beginning of that.
For those of you who are listening, we've spoken about this on other podcasts. And I know, David, you and I talk about this all the time, is that when Bitcoin actually forked, right, there was an argument over, no, this is Bitcoin Cash. This is Bitcoin Satoshi's vision. And everyone said, no, Bitcoin's fine the way it is. And there was a lot of people like Mike and myself thinking, I don't know if Bitcoin's going to survive this. So
yeah, it was it was a big threat. Nobody knew, when they forked that, and Roger and Jihan had a lot of power. Roger was Bitcoin Jesus. I mean, I watched him in a lot of videos. He was a big part of my educational process on Bitcoin, and I remember him saying, I did it with Bitcoin. I can do it with Bitcoin Cash.
So if Roger is Bitcoin Jesus, who do you think is Bitcoin Moses?
He became Bitcoin Judas, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
Well deserved.
Yeah, he's Bitcoin Jesus. But
him and Jian Wu are a great example of what happens when you try to take on Bitcoin. When you think you're more powerful.
That's right. That's right.
And they ended up getting, they could have been two of the richest people in the world. And, Jihan Wu ends up losing frickin' Bitmain, his own company.
That's right.
And Roger's out there still trying to promote B-Trash with a straight face.
So let me ask you this. So if Roger is Bitcoin Jesus, who in today's world do you think is Bitcoin Moses?
Oh, well, I mean,
there's only one person.
Michael Saylor.
That's correct. Travis, Travis, tell him what he wins.
You win a new car.
That's correct. I'm so proud of you that you got that. That's correct. Yes. Michael Saylor is Bitcoin Moses. He sure is.
So I thought, Michael Saylor, is like a 1 in a billion. He's not 1 in 100 million. I mean, this guy is super, super rare because he did not get on Bitcoin until 2020. And for him to take in all that information and get up to speed and then blow by most everybody else as fast as he did, I think I've said that he is Bitcoin 2020's Rookie of the Year and
MVP.
And if you want to know how rare that is in the major sports, that's happened like 5 times in the last 100 years in all the sports. So Michael Saylor, is just tremendous.
Yeah.
I actually think that Michael was maybe responsible for about $20,000 of Bitcoin's ramp in February, March, April
of 2020, 2021,
and then Elon is probably responsible for 20,000 of it on a correction.
Yeah, but here's I got to stop. Here's what I want to say about this. And you made a point. You said that when you try and take on Bitcoin, right?
Yes.
You want to take on Bitcoin, then this is what you actually get. Yes. And I think the reason that Bitcoin has been trading sideways for so long, like hovering, in the 30s, right? Low 30, 29,000, maybe 38 high for months and months, is because there are only two people who make money in Bitcoin: those that buy and hold, set it and forget it, and exchanges. And what has happened is, if you were long, you got margin called. If you were short, you got margin called, right? So now all those people who actually had Bitcoin are broke, and the exchanges have it. So who's margin calling on? But my point is, I believe that our market is literally, how do I say this to you? It's stronger than just what Elon Musk says. It's got to be. It's just got to be.
Look, my point about Michael Saylor and Elon Musk is that ultimately neither one of them are going to have hardly any influence on the price.
That's right. Okay.
I mean, when this is, world reserve currency status, they're just going to be footnotes along this path. And Michael will be a great footnote. And I think Elon's done some things he's going to have to live with for the rest of his life. I mean, you can't, to me, it's so obvious that he probably owns that wallet with a quarter of the Dogecoin in there.
Yeah.
And the fact that he could come out and say, well, if Doge did this and if it did that, and if the block sizes were 10 times bigger, well, that debate was, Bitcoin won that debate a long time ago. You cannot scale with block sizes. And if you want to see a great takedown on why you can't scale with block sizes, go to YouTube and put in Rocky Palumbo and watch. He did this in 2017 and lays it out really well for a layman, somebody like me who's not technical, about why you can't scale with bigger block sizes. And it's some great work that he put out.
So I want you to talk. I'll go back to something else that you said. You said that Bitcoin being the world reserve currency. I actually tend to believe that too, right? So, however, I don't believe the IMF, the International Money Fund, the ECB, the European Central Bank, the Fed, the Treasury of the United States, the Bank of Canada, they're going to say, yeah, that's cool. Bitcoin's going to be this thing. I think that there's going to be a lot of fighting and difficulty before that happens. What do you see happening? Forecast for us. Put your little turban on and be the future seer. Well, how do you see that happening?
So I see Bitcoin, and I said this when we were at BitBlock Boom, and I was out in the hall, and I was talking to Jimmy Song, and I said to Jimmy, I said, I want to see Bitcoin, and I think Bitcoin is going to be like pancreatic cancer to the legacy financial system. It's just going to slowly work its way through. And I hope that by the time the legacy financial system realizes what is happening, it has about a week to live. And of course, Jimmy kind of cringed at me, but I think he got the point.
Yeah.
Because Jimmy's a great Bitcoiner. And I was actually, I don't want to use the cancer word with Bitcoin, but the point I was making was Bitcoin is just going to, you got a week left to live with pancreatic cancer, you might as well forget it.
And for those of you who don't know, Jimmy Song is really one of the founding fathers of Bitcoin, right? And but the thing about it,
he's never really wavered. He's been rock solid. Yeah, but he hasn't went down the shitcoin trail, and he's got his principles, and he never wavers from them.
But more about Jimmy, right? He's like a walking contradiction, right? He's 6 feet tall. He's Korean, right? He wears a cowboy hat. He's got 6 kids. He's married, and from what I understand, he's deeply religious. He doesn't swear except for using the word shit as it relates to shit coins. That's the only exception that he actually makes.
Right.
And I remember, in a lot of ways, to me, he's very spiritual. I'm sure he would not, he'd be like a little embarrassed. I'm putting him on a pedestal. But I remember I too had a conversation with him because, he was outside. He was selling his book for $12, right? The little Bitcoin book, right? And it's just, and I got the signed copy of it. Right. And I remember talking to him about, hey, man, what do you think enough Bitcoin is? And he says, David, you got to have temperance. One must have temperance. It's like, dude, it's kind of like talking to, how do I say it? like Luke Skywalker talking to Yoda. I'm not saying that Jimmy's ugly like Yoda, but he's that wise. Right. It's like, I would have never thought, it's like, some of our influencers that came before you, Michael, they're so spiritual. In it's like it's divinely guided, right? It came from 3, then to 9, to the 27, and wherever we are on that chart, and the people that we're evangelizing, right? And I consider myself privileged to actually have met him because when he speaks, I really, really listen up because he speaks in such a way without condescending anybody else. But I digress about that. So, but I like your analogy. It resonates with me. Pancreatic cancer.
Well, and I got right here. Thank God for Bitcoin.
I don't have that. Is that Jimmy's book? Is that Jimmy's book?
Jimmy is one of the authors on this book. There's 8 authors. Robert Breedlove is one. Julia Turiansky is another one. She's a friend of mine. Her and her husband, Johnny Dilly, who's been a Bitcoin core developer. And she's a rock star in the Bitcoin community going way back to, she had a YouTube channel in Bitcoin. She did a lot of work for Ross Ulbricht, on that case and put a lot of publicity out there for him. She's been around for a while. I saw her. I got to hang out with her for about an hour at Bitcoin 2021, and it's great because she knows everybody, and she's just awesome. And this book is great. I recommend everybody get this book.
Hey, let me ask you a question. What would you say to somebody who's thinking about Bitcoin but hasn't made the decision? You've got a great way of.
So here's what I think, about that. And this is a good place to start. This is Safe's book.
Yeah. The Bitcoin standard.
Because you have to start with sound money. You have to understand.
I'm sorry. For those of you who are listening on Spotify and podcasts and not watching on YouTube, Michael just put up the book, The Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
And that really is. It's
another first class.
Yeah.
By the way.
Right. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Right. Continue on.
Yeah. So you need to start with sound money. That is where you need to start. You need to figure out why the dollar is not very sound and why you want to have what is the hardest, soundest money the world has ever seen. That is where you have to invest your time. And I love the Bitcoin standard because the first 3/4 of this book does not talk about Bitcoin.
That's right. It talks about money.
It talks about sound money, what money has been and why sound money is important. And, we have no idea what a world looks like with hard sound money, but we are at the very beginnings of finding that out. And I think that the best test case right now is in El Salvador. I am actually looking at going down there and seeing if I can put a project together, invest down there somehow, because I think that place is going to explode. I think it's going to be great for Latin America. And I think that Latin America, because everybody's watching El Salvador down there. Don't think all their neighbors aren't paying attention.
Well, about that, I want to jump in here. I was speaking to our mutual friend, Uncle Jim, right? Mm-hmm. And I was also speaking to my partner, Dave Hampton, who, by the way, for those of you who don't know, he's half Guatemalan, right? And, his coloring is, very, shall we say,
right next to El Salvador.
Mediterranean, right? And he speaks fluent Spanish, right? And I said,
Nice.
we should go down there for a week. And we should go and stay in a hotel or rent an Airbnb on or near Bitcoin Beach. And we should say, as far as a project is concerned, I'm talking project in a different way. I'm talking more of a movement. We should go down there and say, we are here to spend Bitcoin, right?
Sure.
I mean, we could use Strike, right? We could use our and basically pay for everything in Bitcoin. That's the mission right there. And if we could get more Westerners or Americans or people with means to come and do that, then that's part of the exponentiation. They'll get that pancreatic cancer to go from stage 1 to stage 5 quicker, right? So anyhow, but you of course being a construction guy, to invest down there, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Remember, we can be permanent residents for 3 Bitcoin. And that doesn't mean we don't have to pay 3 Bitcoin to the government. We could buy a house in Bitcoin with 6 Bitcoin. We bought it for that price. That means me and my wife now have permanent residency.
Well, we are not doing it at 30,000 Bitcoin. I will tell you that. I mean, maybe at 250. I'm thinking, go down there and spend 3 Bitcoin, because all you got to do is spend 3 Bitcoin. They don't care what the price is at. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
30 grand.
Yeah, 90,000. Yeah.
So this is my second halvening cycle to go through, and 30 grand reminds me so much of 3,000 in December and January of 2018 and 19. And
it's nothing. It's not 30 grand is nothing. It's nothing.
No, I mean 30 grand it's as cheap as it was at 3 grand in 2018 and 19.
Yeah, I want to talk to our audience, and I want to just explain, because it was a nuanced comment you went over, Michael. What Mike is saying is that he is not going to take 3 Bitcoin and spend what's the equivalent of 90 or 120,000, wherever it's oscillating. He's not going to do that. He would go to El Salvador when Bitcoin's worth 500,000, right? And now he's going to buy $1.5 million worth of Bitcoin. Now that has his attention, right? Because now, So So anyhow, so you and I
a trip together. I'm in.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do this, and I'm not this. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to bring a suit, because if the president of El Salvador wants to speak to me, I'm going to come correct. And I want to make sure that I'm not saying anything bad about Jack. And I really want to give a shout out to Peter McCormick, right? Because Peter McCormick is one of my inspirations.
Peter he went down there. Peter made many trips to El Salvador before all this. No. There, so he put in some hard work.
He really did, and I really want to give a shout out to him, right? Because he's one of the guys that actually What Bitcoin Did podcast, and he always has great guests on who speak the truth. I'm envious of the fact that he can get these guests, but anyhow. He was called. So Jack says, "Hey, I want you to document it," and he was asked to interview the president, and all he had was a Metallica T-shirt. Right? Sorry, I don't know if it's Ozzy Osbourne or Metallica. It's some heavy metal T-shirt. He's got all his tattoos up his arms, and he's sitting there, and he's really quite humble. And so think about like going to the White House, right, or the House of Commons, or whatever. All you have is your Kiss T-shirt. I mean, it's just it's so wonderful.
It's great.
Yeah, it transcends everything. So, you and I both got moved by Bitcoin to the point where, look, I'm in the space. I'm part of the movement. I'm a true believer. Right? If Jim Jones was Bitcoin, I'd be drinking Kool-Aid. Horrible analogy, but I'm good at that. So I started.
The legacy financial system people are drinking the legacy Kool-Aid. That's the problem.
See, David, I told you how smart this guy was.
Yeah.
I told you that. Just wait till you meet Mike Smith. He can drop some knowledge. So anyhow, I started a podcast, but really I told my partner, I said, I got to recruit in the blockchain space. And at first he kind of poo-pooed it, right? Because I always throw out a lot of ideas. These are things but I kept saying it, and finally he just said to me, okay, let's do it. Man, you threw in.
I don't remember poo-pooing it, but...
Well, you got a way about you that seems poo-poo sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so...
It's usually misread.
Yeah, Dave, the most misunderstood person that you know. Yeah, I've spoken to your wife about that. Anyhow.
Emerson said to be great is to be misunderstood.
So I started a business, and you too started a business because you were just moved with every fiber of your soul. Let's talk about it right now.
Yeah, Bitcoin 101.
Yeah, let's hear about it. Tell our audience what it is and why it is.
So,
the why it is.
you know,
The why
you
it
say-
is
so-
very important.
So I bought an old bank building, and my covenants say, you know, I can't have a bank, a competing bank, which I don't have. You know, I have nothing to do with the legacy financial system.
And this is a bank building in Michigan where you live.
It is. Yep. It's in the little town of Ovid. And
Spell that. Spell that for our audience. Spell it for our
OVID.
Okay.
And get this, the address for this building is 101.
Love it.
It's right on the mid corner of Main Street.
Okay.
At the main corner, and the address is 101. So
Was that a sign for you? Was that a sign for you when you saw that?
No, I thought of Bitcoin 101, and I think I never really paid much attention to the address. And then all of a sudden I looked at the address, like, oh shit, that works. Yeah.
So okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
So you can't own a bank, but you own a bank building.
You know, it's about promoting. I'm promoting global adoption of Bitcoin one hodler at a time.
Tell everybody what a hodler is.
Well, a hodler is somebody that just never sells their Bitcoin under any circumstances.
Right. Okay, go on.
And you know the story behind where that came from. But,
Yep.
Yes,
I do.
Okay. So yeah, it's really education. The primary reason for the bank and the vault is to store one key of a multi-sig wallet. So I recommend to people, like, I don't really want somebody putting their Trezor in their seed. Well, you never put your Trezor and your seed words together, right? I mean, that's a big mistake. But don't put anything in the vault that, you know, could compromise your Bitcoin if somehow somebody were to get in there. But a multi-sig wallet, you put one key in there, you would have to have America's dumbest criminals trying to break in and get it because they get nothing, right?
So let's stop for 1 second. So for our audience, okay? So Michael went up to Physics 102 on us a little bit. So what he's talking about is that you can have a cold storage wallet, right? And that's prevalent today. A lot of people have a cold storage wallet, which you can have your little secret code in there, and that's how you control your Bitcoin. And if you lose the wallet, there's a backup phrase that you can actually have. The problem with that is that someone else finds the backup phrase. They can actually rob you of all your Bitcoin. They can move it unbeknownst to you from your wallet to theirs, right?
Yep.
Multi-sig, which stands for multi-signature, is a setup where there is more than one wallet and more than one have to be executed in order to actually move into the Bitcoin.
Like in the physical world, think of it as you need 3 keys to open this vault, or you have 3 keys, but we need 2 of them. Any 2 of the 3 work.
That's right.
Right? And that can be 3 of 5, it can be 7 of 9, it can be 5 of 10, it can be any combination you want, depending on where you want to go with your own security.
Okay, so you open this bank so that people could actually store the keys and or the backup of, say, one of the keys in a multi-signature environment.
So, ultimately, I rent a sovereign box, we call them, by the way. And they can put whatever they want in there. I mean, I advise them to, use multi-sig to secure your Bitcoin, especially large amounts of Bitcoin, right?
Indeed.
And put one key in there.
Got it.
So I can use this place for, meetups. I can do AMAs. Basically just bring people in and try to educate them on Bitcoin and get them exposure to, the most powerful asset class. It's actually a new asset class. You have your 3 mega asset classes: stocks, bonds, real estate. Now you have Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the 4th mega asset class and the first mega asset class in hundreds of years. And right now it's so cheap and people can't get their mind around that. I get so many people, well, it's at, especially when it was at 50, 60 grand, it's too late. I can't buy one. It's like, no. It's, a penny still buys you many Satoshis. So look at it that way.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that. I got some Bitcoin at $210 in May of 2013. And I wanted to buy some more. And that's when, at that time of my life, $210 was a lot of money. Right? And I was coming out of the recession, right? My wife and I were trying to make it. And I was going to buy some more. And then literally, and this was also in 2013, I think around August. And the price had gone up to $380. I said, I'm not paying that. That's a ripoff, right? And then when it went to $1,000 in 13, I said, it's over for me. It's over for me, right? And then it goes down to $300 and it lived there. Right, and then a lot of it went to 20,000 and 3,000. And so a lot of people. I'm talking to my friend, and I don't know if he's listening. Josh Hill, right, military attorney extraordinaire in Mississippi, right. I think he's in Jackson, Mississippi, and he's just said, yeah, it's too late. Everybody's gotten into it. And I hope he's listening to this podcast, and I hope he listens to you, Michael, and I hope everybody is. It's just like if you own 0.28 Bitcoin, a little bit more than a fourth. You're going to be in the top 1% of Bitcoin holders in the world on planet Earth. Right. All right. So that's right. So your bank, does it patronize to proximity within, can we drive there? Could someone live in San Diego or Vegas, could they utilize your bank for a box? How's that work?
Absolutely, yeah. They could put a key here, and I could actually give them. I could sign and verify for them. If they want access from wherever, or they could come here and do it.
So what Mike's talking about? Let's just say that you have some Bitcoin. Let's say any amount that's relative to you. So we'll call it 10 Bitcoin, which is significant, right? And I mean, no one wants to lose $300,000, which is going to be 30 million someday, right? So if somebody comes in and we call it the wrench attack, right? They say, hey, give me your Bitcoin, right? And if it's multi-sig, right? What they could do is they could actually have one of their keys, and then they could say, hey, Michael, we want you to spend, because Michael can't spend your coins without you. He has them locked in a box. So really, he's a custodio of the keys, and there's some type of arrangement around that, and that's the security from that. Am I explaining it correctly, Mike?
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Yeah. They're not going to spend, any of their Bitcoin, but give them access so that they can. And give them some, geographical diversity, jurisdictional diversity, potentially. So
I'm just going to say this to you. I think your next branch that you open needs to be in the state of Wyoming. I think this is a good concept. Because,
Caitlin Long, right?
Yeah, love her.
She's a rock star.
Yeah, Caitlin, if you're listening, I love you. All right,
yeah,
I just think she's such a great pioneer.
She was at Bitcoin 2021. I really wanted to meet her and say hi to her.
No, she's a pioneer as far as
she is.
Yeah, what you guys need to know about Wyoming is Wyoming is realizing kind of like Nevada. Really, they said, hey man, we're not really mining silver all that much, so we better turn to gambling, right? Something that gets some revenue to the state. And Wyoming is having its pressure. So Wyoming is the most crypto-friendly state in the world. Not this country, in the world, right? And their rules are very strong on crypto. So I believe that, as things break off in our republic, the Republic of the United States, that Wyoming is going to be a very safe place to be if you have to be in the United States as it relates to crypto. It's just what I think.
Oh, yeah. And what Kraken's moving there or has moved there, and they're recognized as a bank. The crypto financial world is probably going to be built in Wyoming.
Yeah, it's going to be what Delaware was to credit cards. What Delaware? Yeah, Delaware says, look, we're the size of a Kmart. So we're just going to be very credit card friendly, right?
Right.
And so anyhow, I want to talk about a couple of things specifically. Hey, if you're listening and you want a job in crypto, or you need some people in crypto, you need to call me. I'm David James, and you can find us. You can find me at the BTC Recruiter on Twitter. The BTC Recruiter. I'm David James, and so basically, are you looking for a head of blockchain?
I am.
I got a candidate. So I've got so anybody else who's listening needs a head of blockchain. I also have a blockchain engineer. I had somebody the other day say to me on the phone, he says, I want somebody with at least 15 years of progressive blockchain engineering experience. And I said, well, pal,
okay.
Satoshi Nakamoto doesn't even have 15 years, and he's worth $60 billion. So how much you willing to pay? So anyhow, so that's that. Also, I have a search for an Ethereum developer. That's
okay.
What about what are you working with?
Actually, I have some. I got a blockchain data engineer.
Okay.
And then I got a couple candidates for some of the searches I've been running right now. So I got some full stack engineers.
You're writing and filling your own searches?
Well, that's the name of the game, young sir.
You make me look bad, but you always have.
That's what you taught me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So anyhow, I'm the job whisperer, but he's the robo recruiter. And basically, I'm Dr. Frankenstein, and this guy is Frankenstein. I've created a monster. He's so wonderful. And also, I just want you to know that when I hired Dave in 2014, right?
March 2014.
He was not only was he recruiter of the year, but he was also rookie of the year. So he did it. Anyhow, and I wanted to talk a couple things. So anyhow, yeah. So if you're looking for a job or need people, call us. Okay. I wanted to go back because as we're finishing up here, a lot of people don't realize the fractional reserve banking corruption, right? So what happened is that your bank only has to have 10%, right?
More like 5 or 6.
Well, hold on a second. Before COVID, right? Okay. It was 10%. So we go in and we put $100,000 in our bank in our savings account, right? And they use that as collateral, and they lend out $1 million because the Fed will give them the other 90%. Right. Yeah. But what ended up happening after COVID is Jerome Powell said, no, zero. The banks can hold zero. Yeah. Right. And talk about the corruption. When the PPP loan happened, I was going to my banker, right? The guy who was calling me every day. Oh, you're so important to us. We love you so much. And the PPP loans were being given to companies that needed $10 million, right?
Yeah.
That had $1 billion in cash. Right? Yep. Yeah, I mean, but banks like us, we were just getting the cold shoulder, and we're getting the runaround, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember there was this company called Cabbage, who I got to give them credit because we got our PP loan from them. It was small, very small, but we got it. And right away, we got an email. Cabbage put it on their email on their website. We are no longer giving any other type of loan other than the PPP loan because there's so much free money. Just all they want to do is service the account, service the loan, right? And they're just so corrupt. So anyhow, I had to say that. And you were talking about Rocky Palumbo. Okay, I really want to get him on the show. Can you get him?
Oh yeah, I can get Rocky for sure.
Right. Well, hey,
he's great.
Well, anyhow, this was really great, Mike. I can't thank you so much. So basically, it's Bitcoin101.io, India Oscar, right?
Yes,
and
you got it.
And you know that anybody who's got an IO address, that means they've thought it out that the government of the United States cannot shut them down, right? So IO is good. .com is, .com's centralized, IO decentralized. But anyhow, hey, I'll see you in a few days at BitBlock Boom, okay?
We will. Looking forward to it.
So as everybody knows, David Hampton, thank you very much, the Robo Recruiter.
Thank you.
And this is another episode of Bit About Crypto. I'm David James, the Job Whisperer. And remember, everybody, get whispered.